Hi, everyone. Let's go. Okay, first of all, I promise you, by the end of this talk, I will have shown you a guaranteed way to win at roulette that you can take to the nearest casino and use. But before we get onto that, I'm going to try showing you something that's less successful because it's potentially more interesting. So first of all, roulette. The name comes from the French term for little wheel. It was developed about 1796 by a guy called Blaise Pascal, and today there's about 300 to 400 roulette wheels in the wild and countless more online. It's a fairly simple game, and in a second, there we go. This is an 18th century French roulette layout. You can see in the middle there's the wheel, and a ball is dropped into the wheel, and the wheel is spun, and the ball falls into a numbered slot that also has a colour attached. The rest of the table is just there to allow you to place the bets. I'm particularly interested in the even chances. These are the things that are almost 50-50. They're not quite 50-50, but almost. So this is odd and even, red and black, high or low. And if you place a bet on one of these even chances, it's quite simple to understand. You place your bet, say, on odd. If the number turns out as odd, then you get £20 back. And if the number comes out as even or zero, because zero is neither odd nor even, you get nothing. So these are quite easy to analyze because you either double or not. So this is a book called 13 Against the Bank by Norman Lee. It was written in 1975, I believe, and it details a scheme that this guy, Norman Lee, came up with that he thought would work at roulette. So he got together his little group of 12 people and took them over to Nice, which in those days was as big a gambling centre as Monte Carlo. And he played for 8 days solid, from when the casino opened to when it closed, continuously, all 12 people playing at once. And he was remarkably successful, so let's look at the scheme. It's called the reverse Labouchere, and you start by writing in the numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 on a piece of paper. And then you bet this on any one of the even chances, anything you like, so for example, odd. And if you're lucky enough to win, you add the winning stake to the end of the line. However, if you lose, then you do something else that'll come up in a second. But the point is that when you win, your line gets longer and longer and longer, and you're making bigger and bigger and bigger bets. Now, if you're unlucky enough to lose, then you delete the end numbers of the progression, and then you add up those numbers, and you get 5, and you carry on that on the next bet. So when you lose, you decrease your bet, and when you win, you increase your bet, and you get this progression. But really, this doesn't matter. This is just designed to confuse you. These are the winnings in francs that his team of 12 people claim to have made. On day 9, they were banned from every single casino in France and deported straight back to the UK. Or so he says. The question is, did this really happen? And I thought, well, if he's written a book and it has a scheme that's going to make me 800,000 francs, I want to do it, so why can't I do it? So let's look at it mathematically. So there's 2 things that you really need to know when analysing any scheme in a casino. The first is the gambler's fallacy. This is the idea that if you're tossing a coin and you get a load of tails, you're more likely to get ahead on the next go. And it's completely false. Nothing changes. It's 50-50 every time. So this applies to the roulette wheel exactly the same. The second thing is that every bet in roulette is a losing bet. On a French roulette wheel, so that's 1-0, you have a 2.7 loss on average on every bet. So yeah, in some bets, you might make a profit. But on average, in the long run, you're going to lose 2.7% every time. So any scheme which just relies on changing the order of bets or changing the size of each bet is like rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. You can't win. You get a load of losing bets, you can shuffle them up however you want. You're still going to have a load of losing bets. So this is the problem with all schemes, all wagering schemes. So I decided to think, how unlikely was Norman Lee's winnings given that he was playing a losing scheme? Because you could still be up in the short term. I could believe that Norman Lee made a profit on one day, but 8 consecutive days with his massive profits is very unlikely. So these are some simulations, and you see this massive peak to the left of the line. This is all of the simulations where I made a loss. On the right of the red line are all the profits, and you can see there's a hell of a lot more losses than there is profits. So if you work it all out, you get this is 1 in 5 quintillion. I had to look it up because I don't know anything as unlikely as that actually happens. So maybe he did do it. Maybe he's the luckiest guy, but probably not. But I told you that I would tell you a way that would win, where you can go to the casino and you would definitely win. And I'm going to do that, but actually it's not really my scheme. Albert Einstein came up with something quite a few years ago, and in 1 second, you will see the only way to win is to steal the money when the dealer's not looking. And I wish I could tell you that this wasn't true, but I'm afraid he's not wrong. So that is the end of my talk. Thank you.